Welcome to sarkaritale.com and diplomacyindia.com. In a statement issued by US Navy on 7th of April, USS John Paul asserted navigational rights and freedom at approximately 130 nautical miles west of Lakshadweep Islands, inside India's exclusive economic zone without requesting India's prior consent, consistent with international law. Reacting on this statement, the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, expressed their concern and said that it was not consistent with United Nations conventions on the law of sea. To talk more on this, we have a special guest joining us from Washington, D.C., Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor, who is a former diplomat and has been Ambassador of India to Chile and Cambodia. So, welcome, Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor. Could you help us understand what is this development about and why this has happened?
Thank you very much, AMEYA, for inviting me for this show. It's an outstanding work that you're doing for the country and for the world. And what happened with the latest incident of USS John Paul Jones is something which has taken a lot of people by surprise, both in the US and in India and in other countries. The defense relations between the US and India have been progressing very well, very smoothly, and enhancing very significantly over the last few years. We have signed a lot of fundamental agreements between the India and the US, and we are doing a lot of military exercises. And there are so many other areas of cooperation which have been happening. The Quad has been active. The first summit level meeting of the Quad took place just last month. The in-person summit meeting is scheduled to be held later this year. So those developments cannot be belittled. Now, what happens in the course of bilateral relations between countries is that sometimes some irritants crop up, which create a temporary setback to the relations. In this case, it's slightly matter of some serious concern for India in particular, and for also the US. Because in the US, the strategic community, the media, the academic community, the political elite of the US, the executive branch of the administration, they're all very clear that priority in the security sphere, in the geostrategic relations, one of the topmost priorities for the US in the coming days and years is India. So mostly it has been moving on a very strongly positive trajectory. Now, sometimes in these relations, some countries which are very concerned do try to create impediments or obstacles, which I've seen in many instances in my own career as a diplomat for India, working in different continents of the world, in so many countries, in the developing world, in the developed world, where in particular countries like China, and sometimes using Pakistan as a cat's paw, try to create these disruptions. So I will not be surprised if on some detailed analysis, we find that this again was inspired by some Chinese interventions through their Pakistani, advisors here in the US, who are also close to the Biden administration as senior level advisors, who may have somehow got this statement. And what happens normally in a diplomat's life is that if we have very good connects with the political elite of the country, the bureaucracy, we get information and tipped off many times beforehand that this is going to happen. And then the ambassador or the senior diplomats, they go and have a very direct conversation with the Foreign Office, with the Defense Ministry, and nip these issues in the bud. In this case, it seems to have gone a little out of hand. I don't think it will be a long-lasting impact, but it could have been nipped in the bud. Now that it has not been nipped in the bud, we have very experienced diplomats in India who are in charge of the foreign policy. the Foreign Minister of India is a very bright, outstanding diplomat and strategist. He has been working as ambassador of India to the US also and to China also. The Foreign Secretary of India is another very bright diplomat who has also worked as ambassador of India to the US. They understand the US dynamics very well, and I'm sure that they will be uh, able to bring this under control very easily. Thank you.
Uh, Considering this development, how do you see the future of India-US relations if these kind of incidents or statements are issued in the near future? How do you see this in the future course of relations between the two countries?
So I think what is required is for some direct conversations to happen. We have had 2+2 meetings where the Foreign Minister of India has had very intense interactions with the Secretary of State very recently before the Quad Summit. The Defense Minister of India had very intense interactions with the Secretary of Defense of the United States. I think both the sides need to have these very same people on the phone, again online or in a video conference, between the Foreign Minister of India and the Secretary of State of the US government and the Defense Minister of India and the Secretary of Defense, to make sure that this mischief is nipped in the bud so that it does not have a long lasting impact on the relations, and the relations are brought back on an even keel very fast. And to what is most important is to see how we can avoid such incidents in the future. So to trace out how this statement got issued in the first instance, because many times once you do that, a very thorough job of investigation, then the elements which are nefarious elements or mischievous elements, or who are working against the bilateral interests of US and of India, they get exposed and their wings are clipped or they are thrown out of their jobs, so that such incidents do not take place again in the future.
Ambassador Pradeep Kapur, you I think very nicely sum up the whole development, and it seems that the India-US relations will continue to grow, and these events could just be a passing move. Thank you very much for joining us from Washington DC. This is Amey Sathaye for SakariTel.com and DiplomacyIndia.com signing off from New Delhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ameya. Wish you all the best, and may you continue doing the great work that you're doing. Thank you.